What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and today we got a super exciting video where we're going to be talking about Fabled, the newest set from Disney Lorcana, and we're going to be going through all of the cards, as well as talking about rotation that is now imminent. It's just around the corner, and talking about some of the cards that will still be good after rotation, and just kind of talking generally about the dynamics as that rolls around. Super excited. I know a lot of people at my LGS have been really antsy to kind of have the rotation. People already kind of playing. Like, we had some locals yesterday, and I was a stinker. I arrived still with sets 1 through 4 in my deck, but a lot of people just taking all those cards out and just trying to fiddle around with what decks might look like. And yeah, it's super exciting. I know some people are a little upset, but I'm still, like, you know, foiling out cards that I like from older sets, hopefully to play them in the infinite format when that becomes a thing. And yeah, so initially I was kind of skeptical. Oh, sorry. First of all, like, comment, subscribe, yada yada. Sorry, I always sometimes forget to do that. Blah blah blah. Anyways, I was wanting to make this video. I always try to do kind of a card review, set analysis, all of that stuff. And we have a trip coming up, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to have time to review all these cards. And then I remembered, wait, there's only 33 mechanically new cards in the set, so we'll hopefully have a nice, short and sweet new card review. And then again, I have a list here of some cards that I think are I want to talk about, and just kind of talk about, hey, these cards are really good. This is a very good starting place for kind of like, if you're trying to say, hey, what is a good starting place for cards that are still going to be good, and kind of figure out where you can combine them with the new cards. And people are already kind of doing that. Yeah, so I think without further ado, we're going to talk about the grading scale, which I always talk about anytime I am reviewing cards. So this is kind of derived from the people over at the Limited Resources podcast, the Magic podcast. I think it's a really good scale to have, right? So, a lot of people, they either overrate a card or underrate a card, or like, they kind of say, oh, this card is so good, but right, don't really talk about what the instances or kind of the scenarios where the card is good, or kind of in what context. So I always think it's really important to kind of explain this. Right, so I haven't updated this document, by the way. I apologize, or this graphic, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so we start off with A's. These are the best cards in the set. These are just super powerful cards. They're just a slam dunk. A lot of colors, a lot of cards. These colors will just immediately snipe and just say, all right, cool, this card is going in my deck. They're good at a lot of strategies. They're just good in a lot of scenarios. A lot of the Magic players talk about good while ahead. Could use the quadrant theory, which is good while ahead, good while behind, good while at parity, or good while developing, and all these sorts of things. Right, so cards that are good in a lot of these scenarios are likely to perform better than cards that are really only good either while you're ahead or behind, or whatnot. So examples of these, right, obviously Rapunzel, Gifted with Healing, is a great example of a card that is just like, yeah, this card is just a slam dunk. Pretty much every single Amber deck so far has included the card. Right, Beast Tragic Hero was a main staple in steel decks for a while. A good example, I guess, of a card that is sticking around. We're not going to talk about reprints, by the way, but Big Tink is still a part of the core constructed format going forward. Big Tink could become a card that is in the A category if it's in enough decks where it's just like, yeah, we don't have a lot of removal. This is the best thing we have. Yeah. Just cards that are really good. B is where you kind of get into cards that are still quite powerful, but maybe are more, deck specific, or maybe don't objectively look quite as broken. Not necessarily broken, but just like powerful, right? They're just like easy to use. So a great example of this is Be Prepared, right? So like, a lot of people think of Be Prepared as this a completely oppressive card, but if we go back to the kind of the quadrant theory, Be Prepared is really only good while behind, right? If you're ahead, if you have a bunch of characters in play and your opponent doesn't, obviously you're not going to be looking to play Be Prepared. So it's kind of a dead card in your hand there. If you're at parity, right, it's kind of the same deal where, even if you're at parity, you wipe the board, you pass the turn, and your opponent plays another character. Right? So Be Prepared is really only good when you're behind. And so while it is an incredibly powerful card while behind, and it's still worth including in decks, and by the way, will not be a part of Core Constructed once Fabled releases. Right, it's still a powerful card, and obviously you can tell it was powerful enough that they were like, we don't want this card to stick around. Right, Fishbone Quill is another good example of a very, very powerful card. Prince John, right, very powerful card, also not being reprinted, but again, is requiring you to play a specific type of deck. This is not just going to be a slam dunk in every deck, and again, also has a lot of scenarios where it can underperform. C's are just good cards. They are the nuts and bolts. A ton of decks are going to have these, right? So the Maleficents and Lilos and aggro decks, Friends on the Other Side. I struggle to think of like some other C's. I guess like White Rose, right, in some Amethyst decks, right? Giant Cobra, right? These are not like, oh my goodness, they're so powerful, oh, they're so great, but they're cards that you're kind of just happy to include in decks, right? And they are efficient cards, but they are not necessarily the most powerful cards. So D's, this is where we get into, right, they're pretty bad cards. They're either just generic filler cards, or they're just kind of a little clunky, a little slow reference cards that don't really have enough power behind them. Right, so a good example of this would be like the Captain Hook, which is a card that is reprinted, but I still think it's gonna kind of not be good enough. Right, the one that gets back Fire the Cannons. Right, even though Fire the Cannons is a fine card, I probably put that in the C to B category. Right, the Captain Hook card is just a little bit too conditional, a little bit too underpowered to really be a efficient card. And then you have some stuff like the Elsa Queen Regent, which is just a 4-cost 4/4, quest for 1. Right, not a particularly powerful card, but again, it is a card. F is where we get into these cards are absolutely terrible. They are either actively bad or just like don't do enough, aren't worth including, highly specific, right? Like this Moana Chosen by the Ocean, the one that removes Tekka if it's in play, right? Dingle Hopper and Healing Glow are just like completely unplayable cards. They have seen zero play in even like casual decks, right? So these are just cards that are just, don't look at them, don't pay attention to them. They're not really worth thinking about. And then we get into tech cards, which is, again, at this point is unlikely that there's going to be a lot of good tech cards, as we don't really know what the meta is going to look like. But these are very good to kind of make note of. These are cards that are designed to be played against specific things, right? So Poison Apple and Sword of Truth, that reference specific subtypes like villains or heroes. I think that's what the villain. Yeah. Poison Apple did princesses, right, or something, and Sword of Truth did villains, right? Anyways, right, these are obviously like not going to be ubiquitously played right from the get-go, but there could become a scenario where things arise and those cards become more playable. Sword of Truth was definitely playable at one point in time. Yeah. I just wanted to explain the grading system before we start talking about these new cards. So we have 33 cards. There's one here that I think is not on Dreamborn for some reason. I'm not sure about that, but we're just going to go by color and just kind of give each of them a grade. And we'll kind of go from there. So first up is Aurora, Holding Court. one cost 1/1. Whenever this character quests, you can pay one less for the next queen or princess you play this turn. So they're kind of said this when they announced this card, right? They're trying to support some other archetypes going around, and yeah, this is an interesting one. This is a kind of a improved Pluto, right? Pluto is also being reprinted, but this is a little bit more of an archetype specific card where if you're playing a lot of princesses and queens, this is going to be kind of an upgraded Pluto. You can play it on 1 and play a queen or princess that costs 3 on turn 2, which is obviously quite powerful. And it removes the downside of Pluto. A lot of people complaining or kind of lamenting about Pluto when you don't draw it early in the game. Right, it is an amazing card on turn 1, but a pretty laughable card pretty much every other scenario in the game. So yeah, so if you draw Aurora later on in the game, you can go ahead and just ink it. Of note, there is also a the Floodborn Aurora from set 1 that is being reprinted, so you can play this on 1 and then quest with it on 2 and shift Aurora on top of it on 3 for 3, but really for 2. Because it affects the shift cost. And that's pretty cool. Is that good? I'm not really sure. I would probably put this in the C category. I'm not sure that the power level is there for the princesses as an archetype at this moment. There's some good ones, but I haven't really seen any deck lists pop up of this so far where that's really impressed me. You can curve this into the Tiana. Forgetting what it's called. That is kind of a protection piece. But again, that still leaves this Aurora hanging. All right, so a lot of times you're going to get maximum of 1 usage out of this, and that's fine for your 1-drop. But yeah, I just don't really see this really helping the princess queen archetype so much. I've talked about this a little bit here and there, either on the channel here or also about with people at my LGS, where I'm just a little disappointed in the means in which they release support for these archetypes. I would expect, based on their track record, that they're going to make more princess and queen cards in the future, right? Like they will in the Witching in the Well. Is that the Whispers in the Well? Not Witching in the Well. Whisper. That's a magic card. Whispers in the Well. That there will be more support for this archetype, and you'll get more princesses. So yeah, this is a C with room to grow. But yeah, in general, I am not particularly impressed with any of the archetype support that they've added so far. Speaking of, next up we have the Queen Conceited Ruler, 3 cost 2/4/1 with support. At the start of your turn, you can choose and discard a princess or queen character to return a character card from your discard to your hand. So yeah, this is kind of in the same realm of like you're not really gaining a whole lot of power from this. You have to run obviously enough princesses and queens. It is interesting that you can get any character card back, so you can get, you know, some more powerful big characters hopefully with this. But also early in the game, it's just a kind of a 2/4 with support. It's just very underpowered. Yeah, so I will still give this a C, probably more like a C minus. Just because again, I'm just not really sure. You're not going up on cards, right? You have to discard a card to get a card. Maybe if the card that you're getting is that good, this is kind of useful. But yeah, in general, I'm not impressed with this. The support mechanic also, or keyword, has also, I feel like, been underexplored or underutilized. So it'd be interesting to see if there's a the Amber Sapphire decks, right, have a lot of those keywords or cards with those keywords. And so maybe if there's a kind of an overlapping of, all right, you're playing the princess and queen stuff, but you're also playing some support stuff, maybe there's enough quality cards there to kind of make that work. But again, I'm really not seeing it at the moment. So yeah, C minus. This is definitely worse than the Aurora, right? I view the Aurora as an enabler and kind of the Queen as a payoff, and I think the Aurora is a much better enabler than the Queen is a payoff. So yeah, we got more princess here. We got Minnie Mouse, Sweetheart Princess, 4 cost 2/4/2. Notably is a princess, right? Your character's name Mickey Mouse gains support. these clauses never really work on cards, right? They just there's never really enough quality of Mickey Mouse characters or mini in any of these cases to really build a fully deck that fully utilizes them and can rely on them consistently. However, the effect on this card is really interesting. Says whenever this character quests, you can banish a chosen character with 5 strength or more. So it's essentially World's Greatest Criminal Mind on quest. Oh, sorry, exerted character. So it's even worse. Yeah, this is not great. I forgot about the exerted character part. Yeah, I think it would have been way better. Maybe it would have been too good, because you could continuously just support and then quest with this and banish it. So they at least get a turn with whatever character you banish, presumably. But as I kind of mentioned before, right? The princesses and the amber cards, amber sapphire, I guess, cards, could potentially utilize this well, right? Where you support your opponent's character, buff it up to 5 or more strength, and then this is essentially acting as a removal piece. And again, World's Greatest Criminal Mind is also reprinted in this set. So there was like some Amber Sapphire decks at one point, like that were kind of doing that, where it was an aggressive Amber Sapphire deck running some support cards, and they kind of used the World's Greatest Criminal Mind as their removal tool, right? As kind of their equivalent of Strength of a Raging Fire. And that was kind of fine for the most part, but they really lacked when they didn't draw the World's Greatest Criminal Mind. So now this can essentially be a second piece. So that could be pretty cool. Is that enough to really make either the princess strategy or the support strategy or the combination really work? I'm not really sure. For now, I'll give this a C+, as again, I think this is not necessarily, I'm not even looking at the Mickey Mouse clause. I'm literally just looking at this for the quest effect, and yeah, so C+, I think it could be okay, but I'm also not sure. Next up, we got Beast Gracious Prince, 5 cost, inkable 5/1. Your princesses get +1 strength and +1 lore. First of all, quintessential like bulk rare card, right? Like I feel like when I look at the rarity symbol, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, this is gonna be the card that I open up as my rare and go, cool, next. Not to dunk on the card, right? It's a fine card. I think this is reliant on the if there is a princess deck. If there is a princess deck, which again I really haven't seen, this could be potentially playable. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not sure. I will give this again a C-. Again, a lot of these cards probably going to end up in the C category. It's just, if it becomes better, it might be fine. But yeah, buffing all your characters is kind of interesting. A little bit more of an exciting card. We got the legendary Circle of Life. Finally, I know I was like kind of wondering like what would a Circle of Life card be like, and here you go. So 8 cost, inkable action song with Sing Together, and it says play a card from your discard for free. Very, very cool. A lot of people kind of experimenting with this card, trying to kind of play like a ring animator strategy for the Magic people who know that, right, where you discard a character, and then you sing this early, and then right, you have a super expensive character early in the game. Love that there is no condition on like the cost of the character that you can play, right? It doesn't say like 7 or less or 8 or less. It just says play a character. So there's like the 10 cost Mickey Mouse that you can play with this. I don't really see that being good, but we do have things like we have the Ursula Vanessa as well as Troubadour, so you can play both of those like early in the game. And then Steel and some other colors have ways to loot, ways to draw and discard cards. So there's definitely ways of like setting that up and then getting a huge character in play early, right, on turns like 4 or 5. The question is like, what character do you play off of this that really makes it worth it? And yeah, and kind of can you do that? Of note, like Ruby also gets some singers. There could be an Amber Ruby deck that plays like Maleficent Dragon off of this, and then this is like a removal piece. The difficulty is that there's no discarding that I've seen. Yeah, there's no discarding in a in an amber or ruby. So there's some difficulties here of like what colors have the best enablers for this card, as well as what's the biggest payoff that you can get without kind of diluting your deck. Again, I don't think that the giant Mickey Mouse is really the card that I'm going to be looking to build with this. That being said, I think this is potentially playable, but as we mentioned, this is going to be a B, not an A, in that, right, if this card is played in a deck, it is going to be built around it, it's going to be highly specific, and it's really only going to be good in that deck. I don't really see this card being included widely or generally. Again, you'll really have to build around it specifically. So yeah, the ratings, the scale, or the rating scale, the grading scale, I should say, words, working quite well for me so far in this video. All right, on to the Amethyst card series. So you have the Magical Feather, 2-cost inkable item. When you play this item, choose a character of yours. While this item is in play, it gains evasive. So very interesting that it's almost kind of like an equipment for Magic, just kind of coming down and kind of applying a bonus to a specific creature as long as it's in play. You can also then pay 3 ink to return this to your hand, where presumably you will replay it and give another character evasive, right? So either if the character that you played this on is banished, or, right, maybe you say, hey, I don't need this character to have evasive anymore, let me switch it, right, return it to my hand and apply it to another character. You can go ahead and do that. Very interesting card. I actually love the design and you know, flavor and all of that things. All of those things, excuse me. I just don't think this card is very good. It's just like not really worth playing. And yeah, maybe it could be a tech card in the evasive meta, right? Where there might, if you don't have a great way of dealing with evasive characters, maybe you put this in your deck and you use this to take out an evasive character, and then later on you say, okay, I don't need it, return it to my hand and ink it. That could be a reasonable usage of this card. I just don't see this being used like in general competitive decks where you're like, yeah, I'm gonna use this and I don't know, do item, right? There's not enough item synergy. There's not, you know, really, why wouldn't you just play an evasive character to right? So yeah, I think this looks like I don't want to say D. Again, I'm just gonna give it a C minus. Like, it's not a terrible card. It's just, it's not very efficient. I guess that is a D. Yeah, I guess it is a D. It's just a little bit too expensive doing what you do. And even if, like, I wouldn't really change the rates on this card. Like, I wouldn't reduce the cost. I wouldn't reduce, like, reducing the cost to return it to your hand doesn't really affect the card. So yeah, it's just the effect itself is just not really something that you need en masse. So yeah. Next up, we got Timothy Q Mouse. I don't know. I haven't seen. I either haven't seen Dumbo or haven't seen it in a while. So excuse me if I'm messing up this or the character, the pronunciation or whatever. So this is a 2-cost for a 1/4 quest for 1. While you have a character with evasive in play, gets +1 lore. So you know, this is pretty interesting that they've kind of dug deep into the Amethyst having evasive mechanic, right? So a lot of the Dumbos reference the Dumbo cards reference having evasives or evasive characters, and yeah, this evasive is obviously a very powerful keyword just by itself, and with the lack of removal as well, or kind of the diminishing removal that it looks like the core constructed format will have. Yeah, this card looks like it could do something, right? You play this on 2, you play an evasive character on 3. There's like the Tinkerbell, there's like some other, you know, in Emerald Amethyst, this could be pretty good where, you know, you just any 3-cost evasive character can enable this. Or even one, right, 1-cost you play like not Pascal, but like I guess like Pegasus, right? Pegasus is reprinted. All right, so Pegasus on 1, this on 2, and you know, unless your opponent answers your Pegasus, this is questing. So this is like the core definition of like a C, maybe even like C+. This is like what's the word? Just the nuts and bolts type of card, where this is not a standout card. It is just, if there is an aggressive, there's a character, a questing, based Amethyst deck that has a lot of evasive cards, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't consider this. I think that's a great analysis of this card. All right, so just perfectly reasonable card to include in your deck if you have a bunch of evasives. Speaking of having a bunch of evasives, we got Dumbo, the flying elephant. 3 cost 2/2/1. It's got evasive. When you play this character, chosen character gains evasive until the start of your next turn. So actually, this curves quite well, right? In after the Timothy, right? You play this on you play Timothy on 2, Dumbo on 3. You give the Timothy evasive. It quests for 2. Since does it have? It can count itself, but also the Dumbo itself is evasive, and so you quest with your Timothy, and boom, it's safe since it has evasive until the start of your next turn. That being said, is this really worth including? Maybe. Actually, I was gonna it seemed like I was gonna say no there, didn't it? No, this seems perfectly reasonable. It's not the most powerful card, but yeah, I think it's like a C minus. I don't think this is what I would really be itching to play on 3, but it is an option. Yeah. Much more exciting. Dumbo, Ninth Wonder of the Universe, 4 cost, 3/3/1 evasive. It has 2 effects. The first one is it can exert and pay 1 to draw a card and gain a lore. And then all your other characters with evasive gain that same effect. Kind of wish it just said, your characters with evasive. I don't really understand why this had to be 2 whole bars or 2 different keywords. Anyways, yeah, this is pretty great, right? Where you can kind of pay 1 and kind of act like it quests, but it quests and draws you a card, and then it does the same thing for all your evasives. Not necessarily the most powerful card to play on curve, right? If you play it for 4, your opponent could theoretically answer it, and you're not doing a whole lot with it. Obviously, if it lives, it's great, but this could be a potentially powerful card later in the game. It's also like a fine card to play on 5, right? Where you play it, you have another evasive character in play, and you immediately use that to gain a lore and draw cards. You've kind of continued your end game, your goal, while also replacing Dumbo with the card in your hand. So right, if you're able to do that, which I don't think is unreasonable, right? This playing this on 5 is not crazy. Again, assuming you have other characters in play. Again, the removal in this meta is going to be a little bit different. So yeah, seems perfectly reasonable. Is it the most powerful card in the set? I'm not sure. I'm gonna give it a B plus. I would love to give this an A. I'm not sure that I think there's going to be a lot of evasive hate, for lack of a better word, right? A lot of people ready to deal with evasive characters. A lot of people worried about that, as again the removal is a little bit lackluster. It's looking like. So yeah, I think this card might get a little bit of hate in the beginning, but maybe again the kind of meta stabilizes out, and I think this will still just be a nice inclusion in a lot of Amethyst decks. Next up, we have Ursula Voice Stealer, 5 cost inkable 3/4/1. When you play this character, you exert chosen opposing ready character, and then you can play a song with equal or less than that exerted character's cost for free. A lot of words to say. It essentially acts as though it's kind of mimicking the having Ursula force an opposing character to play a song for you. So the song has to be in your hand, right? But if you, let's say you exert a 3 cost character, you can then play a 3 cost song from your hand for free. That's pretty cool. Yeah. There's some interesting strategies that like Blurple that are trying to use this with like Into the Unknown, right? Where you exert a character, you play Into the Unknown for free, and then that puts the card into the inkwell. Is that amazing? I don't know. This is a very difficult card to evaluate. It kind of really depends on, again, what you're hoping to play off of this. And also it kind of is not great in that the better it is, that means the better cards that your opponent has in play. Right? Where if this is singing 6, 7, 8 cost songs, it can do that. But that also means your opponent has gigantic characters in play, and that's probably not great for you if you're playing a 5 cost 3/4. So I think this looks like a C plus. I'm not saying it's not good or it's not going to see play. It just seems that the ubiquity of it and the kind of the consistency of the card, I'm not quite seeing. Could this do some crazy stuff, or could this kind of create some cool scenarios? Of course, like obviously, like was it Steel with like Strength of Raging Fire still exists, right? You can just play this, play Strength, and do a bunch of damage. So that still is a reality. Again, it's kind of like the same thing with Into the Node. It's just like unclear if those are really, if doing that is really worth including this card in your deck. Obviously, it's inkable, so if it's ever bad, you just ink it. But yeah, I think for now, I'm putting it as like a C plus range. All right, first let's get this bad emerald card out of the way. This card's pretty bad, but it's here and it's not on Dream Board, but we're going to talk about it. Anyways, 2 cost inkable for family fishing pole. Enters play exerted. You can pay 1 and exert it to banish the item, and then return a character of yours to your hand to gain 2 lore. Yeah, really weird that they put this on an emerald card. They kind of have some like bouncing like self return to hand or return to hand stuff to gain lore stuff, but I'm really confused as to why this is here. It's very slow. You have to pay 2. You can't use it on the turn you play it. I don't want to say F, but this looks like a D minus. Like, I can't call it an F since it gains lore. Like, it does something. Like, it does do something. Like, it is potentially able to get you 2 lore. It's just super inefficient at doing it. Yeah, I'm just gonna move on and call it a D. Let's not talk about this card anymore. First of all, one of my favorite cards probably said Bobby Simrewski. Yes, the Goofy movie is here. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan. I'm not a fanatic, but I do know the Goofy movie. Do love that movie a lot. Yeah, this is a cool dude. The Leaning Tower of Cheesa. Remember that line? So at 1 cost, inkable, 1/2 and emerald. When you play this character, you can draw and discard a card. Cool. So we've seen a bunch of these effects, and these cards are usually pretty great. Like kind of Mulan, right, has seen some play. And Simba, right? This is essentially just Emerald Simba. Simba saw some play. Obviously, that was more for the shift possibility, but still cool. This does not have a Floodborn, unfortunately. I hope we get a Floodborn at some point. That would be super cool. But not today. But yeah, looks like a C, perfectly playable card. Really nothing more to say about that. Next up, we got Goofy Set for Adventure. 2 cost inkable 2/2/1. Once during your turn, when this character moves to a location, you may move one of your other characters to that location for free. If you do, draw a card. Yeah, this in a location deck, right? This looks pretty reasonable, as you can play this. If they kill it, okay, so what? If you have it live, you can immediately if I guess it's better also if you played a 1-drop as well. You go 1-drop into Goofy, and then you play location, immediately move Goofy to the location. You get both of your characters there for free. All right, so this would presumably be with something like the Hidden Cove. That would kind of be the easiest card that I'm thinking of. Right, but you move them to the Hidden Cove, they get bigger, and then you also draw a card. That's pretty cool. And then they're at the cove, right? And they get the benefit of the strength and willpower. So yeah, looks like a C. Again, not a standout card. Again, also requires you to run a certain amount of locations in your deck. So again, the John Silver, whatever the location dude, right, is also reprinted. So again, could be a decent just add on to like an Emerald Steel location deck. Cool. Next up, we got Max Goof Rebellious Teen. 3 cost, Inkable 2/2/1. When you play this character, you can pay 1 to return a song card with cost 3 or less from your discard to your hand. So love that Emerald and Ruby are kind of digging into the, as Ruby, as we'll talk about, is digging into the action kind of song theme. And again, fits perfectly with the Goofy movie here, with all the Emerald and Ruby cards being from that franchise. This card in particular is a little bit awkward, where it's unclear if you're going to be able to really use this. There is like in the Emerald Ruby, kind of strategy. There is like some singers that can play a 3-cost song on turn 3, and then you play this on turn 4, get that card back, right? You get like Mother Knows Best right on 3. Maybe you could do that. Right? Maybe on turn 3 you play the song. I'm not sure. And I guess also you can get back a 2 cost. So you can get back a 2-cost song. I'm trying to think about how to get the most value out of this by getting a 3-cost card back. Again, you also have the Zimruski, right? Maybe you play this on 1, you discard a song, you play this on 4, and you get it back, and you've kind of drawn a card, so to speak. You've gone up on a card. And then also in the late game, right? This also is way more likely to be turned on, and yeah, as you can see, it is seeing inclusion in some decks, so it is definitely a C. I'm just not sure how good it really is. Next, we got Standout, 3-cost Inkable Song. So again, a good card to potentially use with Max and some of the other cards. So 3-cost Inkable Action Song. The chosen character gets +3 Strength and gains evasive until the start of your next turn. It is interesting that it gives Strength. Obviously, like Emerald doesn't really give Resist, but it's nice that it gives evasive. This is very similar to, there's a Ruby card that kind of does this. I'm just not sure if this is worth a whole card. That's what's like awkward about this card. Obviously, if the character is important enough and you want to save it, evasive could still be good enough. But again, as I also said, there's a lot of evasive hate. There's a lot of cards that can potentially deal with evasive characters that people are including in their decks. So I'm just not sure. This looks more like a D, a D plus. I'll give it a C minus. Like, I guess I could say C minus, somewhere between there, where it's not a bad card. It's a question of, is this worth including? You really need to be doing the action stuff, and you really need to be wanting to protect a particular character. But again, I also think that with the way the meta could be evolving, the evasive text on this card is not that valuable. Speaking of evasives, again, this is where we get into, like, again, there's a lot of cards with evasive, and there's a lot of cards that people are including to kill evasives. So we got Genie of the Lamp, so 4 cost, 2/3/2 evasive, and while this character is exerted, your other characters get +2 strength. This looks great. Not quite at the B level, definitely C+. A ton of decks are already including this, as you'll see. A lot of Emerald Amethyst, as we talked about with like Dumbo and the evasives, right? So you have a huge evasive squad already in play. You play this, and then boom, you quest with it, or you exert it, and boom, your guys are super strong. Your opponent's going to want to answer this before they start challenging your characters. Yeah, great stuff. This also works really well into Elsa Spirit of Winter, I think is the name of the card. The 5-cost Elsa, right? So you play this on 4, you play Elsa on 5, exert something with Elsa, quest or challenge with this, and then your Elsa is challenging for 4, not 2, which is way better. So yeah, definitely a card that you should expect to see in play. Definitely watch out for that card. Next up, we got Max Goof, Chart Topper. Love this card. Super excited when I saw this card. 6 cost, Inkable 4/5, Floodborn Shift 4. I think this is our first Floodborn that we've seen, that we're reviewing. Quest for 2. When this character quests, you may play a song with cost 4 less from your discard for free, and put it on the bottom of your deck instead of putting it into your discard. So kind of like the Ursula Deceiver of All, but a little bit different, right? Where you can play the song first, and then quest with this and get extra value out of your song. Exactly which 4-cost song or 3 or lower you're playing, still to be figured out. Again, we have things like Mother Knows Best. There's also Be King Undisputed and Ruby Emerald. There's plenty of, there's You're Welcome. I've seen a lot of people kind of use that card. So there are good cards. Heffalumps and Woozles, one of my oldies and goodies that I think is going to see more play. So those kind of cards that can potentially be used with this. This is probably going to end up at a B, I think. I'm hoping, because I really like this card. I think it's super fun and works really well. Where it again, the putting it on the bottom instead of your discard is really good, as you have to keep playing or drawing songs in order to continue to use the card. Eventually, you could find a scenario where you quest with this, but there's nothing to play, right? And yeah, so you have to make sure that you are playing enough actions to really make use of this card. And of course, again, if it quests, it's a 4/5. It's not invincible, has no protection keywords, so it is likely to kind of get banished in return. All right, next up we have a bunch of, for some reason, there's only 3 new Sapphire cards. There's interesting that there's a bunch of Emerald and Ruby cards, again, because of the Goofy movie, but not so many of the other ones. Really interesting how they decided to go about this. So first up, probably the most important one, Powerline, right? Everyone's favorite guy from the Goofy movie, coming to Disney Lorcana, and is the popular singer that he is. The first non-amber character with Singer. So this is a 2-cost inkable 3/2/1 with Singer 4. So as we talked about, right, this is a great to kind of go along in the actions or song Ruby Emerald deck, where you can play things like Be King Undisputed, which is being reprinted. You're Welcome, Mother Knows Best. There are all these good interactive cards. There's others that I'm sure exist as well. Ruby Steel could also sing Strength with this on turn 2. On turn 3. Is that good enough? Is that really good for Ruby Steel? I don't know, but I'm giving examples of all the potential ways this card can be used. Right, this is essentially like Ursula Vanessa, but with different stats, more strength but less willpower, so a little bit more susceptible to removal and also dying once it's been used. Speaking of cards with Singer, we got Roxanne, Powerline fan. Loves to see Powerline in play. 2-cost inkable 2/3. Oh, sorry. Did I rate this? C plus. Great, nuts and bolts card. I feel like that was self-explanatory. Sorry, Roxanne, 2-cost inkable 2/3/1. While you have a character with Singer in play, this gets +1 strength and +1 lore. So as you can see right there, really, really easy to just play Powerline. Sorry, play Roxanne first, play Powerline, and quest, and boom, you got a 3/3 quest for 2. People are kind of calling this the equivalent of Smee. Don't think it's quite on the level of Smee, but I do think this is worth considering. Is there enough? Again, Singers, you'd have to be playing an Amber, right? Because again, you can't just play this and then the Powerline as your only Singer cards. Maybe you do, but my guess is you would probably have to be in Amber and Ruby, and yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but this, if this can be enabled, which I definitely think it can be, looks like a solid C. Again, both cards that are definitely worth including. Next up, we got Max Goof, 3-cost inkable 4/3/1 with Singer 5, so a little bit more. And then also, for some reason, having the downside of being unable to move to locations. That seems more like flavor text, right? Again, of the I just want to stay home. It seems more like a hey, here's a funny little note on the card. Don't really see that coming up too much. This is essentially just a 4/3 Singer 5. That's how I view it. Is that good enough? Again, we have in Emerald Ruby. This seems like a little bit of a better shift target for the Chart Topper. Right, where it just has some better stats, right? It's the same cost as the Rebellious Teen, but just has better stats. Has the Singer keyword, right? Maybe you run both of these anyways, but I think this is a little bit more of an efficient card. Yeah, this looks like a C plus as well, right? I think I would be excited to see what 4 or 5 cost songs you can really mess around with. Also, or again, curves well with Roxanne, right? You play this on 2, this on 3, so maybe there is enough in just Ruby. Sorry, I forgot about Max Goof also having Singer, so maybe that's enough where you could just play a different color other than Amber with these cards. Who knows? But yeah, definitely a playable card. Excited to see what Max Goof can do. Totally not biased. Next up, we got. I love the design of this card, by the way. This is probably my favorite design, not for power level, but for again for flavor design for kind of how they use the card. So this is Mickey Mouse Brave Little Prince, not Brave Little Tailor. This is a 3-cost inkable 2/2/1 with Shift 5, and is a Flipborn Hero Prince. It's got evasive, and then it says while this character has a card under him, he gets +3 Strength, +3 Willpower, and +3 Lore. If you're following along, those are the exact same stats as would be a 5/5 Quest for 4 with evasive. Those are the exact same stats as Brave Little Tailor. The difference is that this card has the flexibility of being played early as a 3/3, as well as, again, if there are other shift lines. I think, don't we still have the 1-cost Mickey Mouse and Steel? Don't quote me on that. Right? But if you are successful at shifting this, or I guess they don't really say if you shift him, right? I guess maybe there could be a scenario in the future, a mechanic that puts cards underneath of characters. I don't think that's likely. I think it's just meant to be with the shift. But anyways, if you are successful in that, then boom, you have your build your own Brave Little Tailor for a little bit of card disadvantage, but a much better rate, right? Instead of having to pay 8 in one go, you can play this on 3 and then shift on 5. And that, I think, makes this way more playable of a card, right? Brave Little Tailor was just, as much as people wanted it to be good, it was just a completely unplayable card. This is way more reasonable of a card to play. Now, that being said, is this actually good? My guess is still actually probably no, unfortunately. Like, if you are successful at shifting it's probably good enough. But yeah, again, you need to, if you're not playing shift targets, you need to draw 2 of these. So yeah. So yeah, so for now, I'll give it a C plus. I think it is like a perfectly playable card. It's just I don't see the power. By the way, we also have the new iconic rarity, which is super awesome. Excited to see what those cards look like. I'm no way gonna open that, but that would be cool. So yeah, fine card. Love the design. Just not sure that it's actually going to be good enough to really see some play. Next up, we got Powerline, 3-cost inkable 4/3. Sorry, Powerline Musical Superstar, not normal Powerline. This has Rush if you've played a song this turn, and that is super interesting, right? This is kind of like, it has the same stats, right, with Rush as Madame Fox. The question is, do you have enough to really enable this card? And again, as we've seen, the answer is probably yes, right? With you play Powerline on 2 and then Powerline on 3, and then, as we'll talk about, we have the Powerline Floodborn, that you have 2 of these in play. You've sung like a reasonable song, right? Some kind of 4 or lower cost song to interact with the board or kind of gain some value. And then boom, this comes in and immediately removes a character. Hopefully it lives, right? It's probably likely to live if you're on the play, and even on the even if you're on the draw, you know, your opponent's gonna have to trade into it. Yeah, I think this card's, again, perfectly playable. C level card. Again, not amazing, but definitely a good nuts and bolts card that looks pretty good. All right, next up, this is an easy one. This is Pete, 4-cost inkable 3/5/1. Caught up in the music. PJ Pete, excuse me. When you play a song, this character gets +2 strength this turn. This is just way too efficient of a card. This is a D. It's not an unplayable card, right? It's fine. It's just versus the other stuff, other cards that you're looking at here in Ruby that work with the song stuff. Like, why would you play this? Is my question. Yeah. All right. Next up, we got the big boy. Everyone's super excited for this card. We have Powerline, World's Greatest Rock Star, 6 cost, Inkable, 6/4/2, Shift 4, Singer 9. Yes, you heard me, Singer 9. They've removed the reminder text of Singer because there's literally not enough not enough room for the text. There's also an enchanted, by the way. Says mashup. Once during your turn, whenever this character sings a song, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You can play a song with cost 9 or less reveal a card, a song with 9 or less and play it for free. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. So looking at the top 4 cards is a little rough. I know, like, playing Robin Hood, from having played Robin Hood Sharpshooter, I know that sometimes you just straight up miss on an action. But if you find any song, I believe any song in the game minus exactly second star to the right, I think is the only 10 cost. I'm trying to think of another 10 cost song. I'm not thinking of one. If you think about it in the comments, let me know. Right, but any other song, you'll be able to play it for free, and obviously super powerful if you're able to get this off. The stats on it are not amazing, right? The 6 strength is nice, but the 4 willpower is a little bit rough. But still Singer 9, and also again, just the if you ever get to sing a song with this, it's going to be super powerful. The question is, how good is it? I think this is going to wind up being a B. I think it will be good enough to really see some play. You need to make sure that whatever song that you're playing provides you enough value or interacts with the board in a meaningful way. As again, you're singing with this, you're not even questing with it, right? You are so you need to make sure that whatever you get off of this, it is good enough. And yeah. But yeah, I definitely think this will see play. Definitely looks like a one of the more pushed cards in the set with just raw numbers, right? Shift 4, Quest for 2, 6 power, Singer 9, looks like can play any card. Yeah, definitely looks good. Speaking of cards that cost 9, they obviously clearly, kind of designed this card to work well with Powerline. But is this card good enough? So this is Eye to Eye. I'm not the biggest fan of I know it is the name of the song, and like it makes sense. I'm not the biggest fan of the 3 character title there. Anyways, so we got 9 cost song, sing together 9. Each player draws 2 and gains 2 lore. If 2 or more characters sang the song or ready them, they can't quest for the rest of this turn. So very interesting card that gives resources to both players, right? 2 cards and 2 lore. However, there are ways to break parity on this, right? So think about some of the common cards is like Shark, any of the Amber or kind of other cards that give you benefit whenever you play a song. And then there's also just, hey, if you are ahead on lore and you play this and you go up and you quest for the win, it doesn't matter that your opponent got 2 lore because the game is over. So those are kind of the ways that I kind of imagine using this card. Again, with Powerline, it's a nice hit in that it's a 9 cost song. You're getting the maximum value off of your Powerline. But also remember, as I said before, this is drawing each player cards and gaining lore, and you're not gaining the benefit of readying your characters to do other things with Powerline. So I guess if you had any other character, you can use the other character and Powerline to do this. But as I said, I'm not sure this is even the card that I'm really wanting to use with Powerline for competitive reasons. Obviously, like, there's the fun aspect of it and the flavor of it, but yeah, I'm not sure. This to me looks like a C-. There are potential uses for this card. I would love a shark deck that uses this, or also just like in the future down the line, you get a bunch of these effects and you just like start spamming like Eye to Eye and other kinds of songs that draw you cards and gain you lore, and like kind of a storm deck and win in one turn, some kind of crazy combo. But we are not there yet. And so until that happens, I think this card is going to be more of like a meme card than an actual competitive card. Maybe again, if there's a shark deck that really wants to be spamming cards like this and winning all in one go, maybe. But again, I still think you're not going to be playing that. Next up, we got Cruella. So moving on to the Sapphire cards. So Cruella de Vil, style icon, 3 cost uninkable. Once during your turn, whenever a character with cost 2 or less is banished, you put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So already really interesting that it's only once per turn, but it is any character, right? So if it's your character, you know, you play a 2 cost, you challenge into something. If it trades, great. If it if you don't end up trading, or you just kind of banish your own character, boom, you get a card in your inkwell. Maybe you've done some damage, right? But also, if you play any kind of removal effect, any kind of thing to remove one of your opponent's characters that costs 2 or less, or then again, that's likely to happen early in the game, right? With a 1 or 2 cost character, your opponent is likely to have played one of those by the time this has come down. Yeah, you just get an extra card in your inkwell. It also has the effect of during your turn, each opposing character with a cost 2 or less gets -1 strength. So it's kind of interesting that it is wanting your opponent to have characters in play and wanting you to be able to banish them, right? So, and then it gives you extra ink. So it's this card's a little bit all over the place. It is also rough that it is uninkable. So later on in the game, this card becomes less valuable, right? Where if you're playing against an aggro deck, this is going to do a lot of stuff. But also if you're playing against any like as soon as your opponent starts playing 3 or 4 cost characters, this becomes way less of a relevant card. Yeah, the fact that the -1 strength also only applies to characters that cost 2 or less. Again, maybe you're running a deck that is a bunch of characters, but also then why would you be playing this card that ramps you in a deck with a bunch of 2 cost characters? Yeah, this card confuses me a little bit. I guess maybe this is like doing it does the thing with the Dalmatian. I just realized it's the Dalmatian pups. Oh my god. It's the Dalmatian pups because they cost 2 or less. I mean the Dalmatian, literally the Dalmatian puppy. Oh my god. Oh, I just realized that. I'm not joking. I'm 100% realizing that's why this does that. Oh my god, that's terrible. She's like literally chucking or like getting rewarded for killing the puppies. I don't like, right? I that's what I'm gathering from this. Okay. That being said, all right, let's move on. Let's move on. How good is this card? I don't think it's very good. I think it's pretty conditional, and even in the conditions where it's good, it's a very small window. So this looks like a C minus. Like if you can get this in your opener, play a 2 cost 1 or a 2 drop, and get 1 or 2 triggers off of this, maybe I would be happy. But then also, I don't want to draw too many of these, as again, the effect turns off very quickly. So yeah, that's where I'll leave it on this card. Oh my god, I cannot believe oh my god. All right, let's move on. Next up, we got Alice Accidentally Adrift. 4 cost inkable 2/3/2. When you play this character, you may put chosen item into its inkwell, player's inkwell face down and exerted. When this character quests chosen opposing character, it gets -2 strength this turn. So right off the bat, items are not looking to be a super integral part of the meta going forward. I know like they were a huge problem and everywhere in the previous meta, but from where I'm seeing it, like Tamatoa and like the item decks are not going to be all over the place. So this is more like a tech card. If people are playing a lot of items, I guess you could use it on yourself to ramp, but then as I said, what items are you playing? I don't know. The on quest is nice. Like again, there are some strength removal cards, like there is Little Sisu now, but I don't know what other ones that exist that I'm thinking of. So yeah, I mean, like strength reduction is always nice sometimes for value trading, but yeah, right now this is looking like a C. It's just it's not, or sorry, a D even. It's really just not where I think a lot of people are gonna want their cards to be at. Yeah. Next up, we got Mulan, Considerate Diplomat, 5 cost, 3/5/2. Decent stats for a princess card like this. It has a good on quest, I think, so maybe that's also why. With this cat quest, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You can reveal a princess character, put it into your hand, the rest on the bottom. Yeah, so again, the princess support I'm still not sold on. This is a nice card where, yeah, if you told me this card quests and draws you a card, be fine, but its stats are still lackluster. Um, yeah, maybe you can get this out a little bit earlier with Aurora, maybe, or like Lantern, right? Right. So yeah, it seems fine. Um, but yeah, if there's a princess deck, obviously this will be in it. But so far, this looks like a C minus. It's just again a little bit not efficient enough. And yeah, if if this was like a 4 or 5, right, the stats were a little bit better. I'd be a little bit more excited about it. But yeah, not sold on. Again, very disappointed with the archetypal support. I love sorry, with the subtype, like the princesses and the inventors and all of that kind of stuff. The more general archetype support, or the kind of mechanical support like evasives and actions, as you can see, is a little bit better. But yeah, I still just don't think there's enough for really the princess and some of the other stuff, as you'll see with like the alien like matters text. Just even this ally text as well, really not doing it for me. So last color here, we got steel. We got Little John Sir Reginald. 2 cost, 2/2/1. When you play this, choose one. Either a chosen hero gains resist 2, or deal 2 to chosen villain character. So as you can probably guess, this is going in the tech category. Obviously, if your opponent is playing a lot of villains, this is way better than just giving a hero resist 2, especially as an uninkable. Like, what hero are you playing on turn 1 that's going to use this? And then you don't really want to be playing this later on in the game. It's also uninkable, so you can't even get in the realm of saying like, oh, hey, like I'll slot a couple of these into my deck to see if I play against a villain deck. Yeah, not a fan of this card. This looks like I'll give it a tech. Like it is the tech card. That is the only scenario where I really see this card being used. Here we have Nala, Undaunted Linus. 2 cost, inkable, 2 cost, excuse me, uninkable, 0/2, quest for 2. While this character has no damage, she gets +1 lore and resist +1. So very interesting. This is, I think, the kind of equivalent of like, you've had like Pinocchio, you've had like Simba, as these like 2 cost uninkables that quest for 3. This one has no strength, which is a little bit unfortunate. Doesn't deal any damage on the crackback, excuse me. But this one essentially has 3 willpower, right? And like even some of like the 2 costs, the 2 strength characters can't deal with this. Like also, was it Calhoun? Calhoun can't effectively answer this on turn 2 without some help. So yeah, I like this, right? And even if they are successful in dealing damage to it, right? If they do like if this doesn't die to fire the cannons, right? Fire the cannons does mean that this only quests for 2 and not 3, but it's still questing for 2. So yeah, seems like a really powerful aggressive card. I was not excited seeing this. I'm really worried about how rampant and how difficult it's going to be to deal with these aggressive decks. So yeah, this to me looks like a C plus, on the higher end of the C pluses. Like, this is a very playable card. I would expect that a lot of the aggressive steel decks are going to be using this guy. Yeah. Or this gal, excuse me. Gal. All right, next up we got Lilo. Oh, there's someone made a funny joke about this where it's like if I had a nickel for every Lilo card in a spacesuit, I would have two nickels, which is not a lot, but it is weird that it's happened twice. There's like another Lilo in a spacesuit that is way worse. Love the Stitch in the background. Love, like, yeah, I love the art. I love the kind of flavor and kind of the different kind of hero character for Lilo. Anyways, this is a 3 cost inkable 2/2/1. When you play this character, your other characters gain Challenger 2 this turn. So a lot of people relating this very similar to Cricky in Emerald. And then whenever this character quests, chosen alien character gains Challenger 2 and then can challenge ready characters as well this turn. So kind of ignoring this second line of text, would you play a 3 cost 2/2 that gives all your other stuff Challenger 2? Well, we kind of already do that with like Crab, right? You have Crab, you have Yelena, there's some other characters. There's like Jafar, right? This is Jafar, has a little bit better stats, right? Has an additional strength and quest for 2, but this gives it to all your characters. So later on in the game, this is also an even better top deck. The question is like, is this really worth playing? I think it is definitely going to be a consideration. But it is interesting whether or not this alien text line of text can work. Right, there's like only a couple of aliens and things like Pleakley, Gontu, and things like that. I mean, I guess John Silver, right, is also an alien. So there are things that this card can target, and with that second line of text. But oh, I love in the enchanted art as well. He's Stitches up there. I love that. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Yeah, I'm not sold on like, oh, this card is amazing or oh my god, it's terrible. I think we'll have to see if this is worth it. Because again, you go 1-drop, 2-drop, and then you play like Calhoun, right? And this is good. After a Calhoun, give the Calhoun Challenger 2, and then you have some things that this card can do. So it definitely looks like a playable card. Definitely at least a C, maybe C plus. I'm just not sold on like how many of this card are you running. I don't think you're running full 4 copies of this card. Yeah, and it's also quite, yeah, it's like how much are you really relying on that second line of text? If you can enable it, great, but like I'm not sure. All right, now we have Jasmine, Fearless Princess, 5-cost inkable 3/7/2. During your turn, this character has evasive. So as you can see, another great like evasive answer. It's even better as it also has this ability to discard a card and give it Challenger 3 this turn. So this is the like evasive murderer. Like no evasive is surviving a challenge. Really, also, sorry, it doesn't have to be an evasive character, so any character, right? You just discard a card, this becomes a 6/7 while challenging. Boom. Really, really good stats. I wasn't super sold on this card when I initially looked at it, but now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, this card seems kind of reasonable. Like, it's a hero, it's a princess, quest for 2, 7 willpower. Yeah, I'm liking this card. Huh. I kind of changed my mind. Like initially I was like, it's a 5-cost character, it's not that good. The discarding a card is a relevant cost. Again, Steel has plenty of ways of kind of drawing off of not having a lot of cards. You have the dock as well as the what's the other Beyond the Horizon. Right, so I'm not too worried about like, oh, you need cards. You're not going to have enough cards in hand to really, or you're not going to want to discard. I think you'll definitely be happy to discard this. The question is this like too slow for the meta? Right, it's not really answering things that go wide. It's answering things that go big a little bit more effective. But and again, it is probably one of the best answers to things like Dumbo and things like that in the meta. So yeah, I think this might be more like a tech card, right? As I think its big strength is that it can challenge evasives. I think if it didn't have that evasive tag, this would be a little bit worse. And But yeah, C plus. I'm gonna give it a C plus. Not all right, not a B, but I think I like this card. I'm liking this card the more and more that I look at it. Why do I like this card? Like, I like this more than Namari. Like, Namari, I'm not a fan of. Like, Namari was a card that I looked at and I was like, I don't know why people are raving about it. Like, yeah, it's strengthening it kind of big in the late game, but I would be more happy to play this on turn 5 than I think I would Namari. And I don't know why that is. Someone explained to me why I think this way. Anyways. Lastly, our last new card, Scar Finally King. Finally. Uh, 5 cost uninkable, 5/4 quest for 2 storyboard king, villain king, relevant tag, not an irrelevant tag. There's definitely some cards that reference that. Your allies get +1 strength. So interesting that it's there's been in the past hero and ally synergies. Now we're kind of going into the the villain and ally synergies. Says at the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, you can draw cards equal to the strength of chosen ally of yours. If you do, choose and discard 2 cards and banish that character. So essentially, you want to have an ally in play. It gets buffed up by Scar as well. You quest with this. You have either you play the ally, or you've used an ally as from a previous turn. You draw a bunch of cards. You discard 2 cards. And then you banish that character. Very, very interesting. I have to look at and see, are there any characters and any ally characters that, like, I guess if there's good ones that are cheap, that have high strength, right? Like any kind of like 3 ones, right? You draw 4 and then you discard 2. So you've essentially drawn 2 cards off of this for 1, right? For paying 1 ink, essentially. I guess you have to spend a card as well, so I guess it's more like you've spent 1 ink to draw 3 cards and draw 4 cards, discard 3 is essentially what's happened. So you're really only going up on 1 card is what I'm talking about. Again, it's a little bit better if you can get a little bit more out of it. It's interesting that this is at the end of your turn and not on quest. I guess this allows you to challenge with it or do something else with Scar that does this. So yeah, it's steel card draw, right? It as long as the character that you're banishing, it has to be an ally, right? So it is a little bit restrictive. As long as the characters you're banishing as at least, right, 4 strength. So again, it can be a 3 strength character that gets buffed by the Be Grateful effect. You're at least getting a decent amount of value off of the card. Moreover, it would be interesting if there were effects that benefited you for banishing your own character. Right, so you have like the Hades as well, right, that like wanted you to banish one of your own characters to banish another character. Maybe both of these cards get used in a deck where there's cards that say like I think there's like not a Mr. Snoops, but there's like some 3 cost 3/3 in Ruby that like when it's banished draws a card, right? So you use that with like the Hades or with this, and you have kind of recuperated a little bit of the downside of using either of those abilities. Yeah, just trying to talk through different ways of like using this card. It is really interesting that it is just at the end of your turn while it's exerted, not on quest, not on challenge, not on song or whatever, not an exert ability or anything like that. It does, however, mean that you can't use those cards until the end of your turn. So if you're empty-handed, it's a little bit more awkward. But that's probably unlikely, as again, you have if you're playing Scar, you're probably have other cards in play that you're using, so it's like probably not the worst. Anyways, all of that to say, this card seems playable. It doesn't seem amazing to me. If this ends up being decent, again, it seems still a little bit too hard to set up. And again, would really only be good in this specific kind of deck. I don't really see this being so ubiquitous, so widely used. So yeah, this looks like a C. It looks like you could play this and you could include this in a deck. I just don't think I would build my entire deck around this kind of strategy yet. Again, I haven't really seen enough support for like banishing your own characters. So um yeah, I think that yeah. So that was every single new card. There's a ton of reprints that I'm not going to go over. Um, Again, Dreamborn has all of that up. They now have a great thing where it tells you if your deck is legal in Core Constructed or Infinity, as well as has a filtering to tell you which cards are legal in Core Constructed and which ones are not. Very big props to the Dreamborn developer. They're doing a great job. Much appreciate that. And yeah, in terms of the actual set, in terms of the actual new cards, a little bit disappointed. Again, initially they were saying, I thought the statement was, I initially got corrected on this. Initially I was upset because I thought they said 50% of the cards will be reprints. And then they turned around and they were like, actually, there's most of the set's going to be reprints. Overwhelming majority, right? 80, I think someone told me it's like 83%, a little bit more than 83% of the set is reprints. Someone corrected me and said they said at least 50% of the deck of the set will be reprints. If that's the case, or all right, I'm just not happy with how little new cards. Right? Think about like what cards did I gave 0 cards an A, right? I gave 0 of these cards an A. I gave some of them B, like Dumbo and Max Goof, and Powerline, right? But I gave none of them an A, and I just don't think there's any card in here that I'm like, wow, what a great new card to print. Like Dumbo is I think the most interesting in that it is kind of like creating its own archetype, right? It's kind of creating its own deck where it's like you want to play a bunch of evasives and do the thing, and that's great. But like besides that, I'm a little bit. I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I was hoping for new cards. I love Circle of Life. Like there are cards that I like, but in terms of what new things the set is adding in a scenario where a lot of people are understandably upset that they're going to be losing access to some cards, I think it would have been a lot better if they were more excited about new cards coming in. Again, the super, not the super goof. I wish super goof was reprinted, but the Goofy movie cards are fantastic. Love all those. I think a lot of people are understandably and super agreeably excited about those cards. But again, I just maybe I'm being greedy. I don't know. Let me know. But yeah, not gonna go over the reprints, but I did want to go over, or at least all of the reprints. I did want to go over some cards that are either continuing to be in the meta or in Core Constructed, or are being reprinted, that I think are either have been good and will continue to be good, or right will kind of gain some more support given where we're going. So first let's talk about Rhino real quick. This is like even before talking about rotation, I was a little bit worried about this card. This card is like kind of annoying to deal with, even in the previous meta. The removal options are becoming just a little bit worse, and just the responses to what happens if you or the agency that you have accessible to you if your opponent shifts this on 2, it's becoming a little bit more restrictive, and I'm a little bit worried that like there's not enough good answers for this. There is like the Amethyst move damage mechanic that works well against this, but I don't see that deck doing particularly well. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I'm a little bit worried about this. Not to the point where I'm demanding it be banned right here and now. I am concerned about this card. I think you need to be thinking about this card going forward, because I think this is one of the most powerful and most hard to deal with cards that I can think of right now. Besides Shark, of course. We'll talk about Shark. So yeah. Speaking of aggressive cards, Daisy Duck is still here. Still going to be very, very aggressive. Very good in aggressive decks. So yeah. Feel free to just like spam those. Turn 1 Daisy into turn 2 more Daisies. It's still going to probably end games before they start. So you need to make sure that you have your aggressive answers available to you. Stitch, on the other hand, is kind of on the other hand of this other end of the spectrum. Right, is a great card draw card. Not saying that this is going to be amazing, but I do think that like if there could be some decks that are desperate for card draw. Again, Amber decks no longer have Rapunzel. They can't just use the crutch of Rapunzel for card draw. They might have to rely on something like Stitch Carefree Surfer if they want to be able to draw cards later on in the game. So yeah, I think like steel decks will probably stick to things like Dock, but maybe like an Amber Ruby deck or like an Amber Sapphire, right? I think maybe ran a couple of these, so this can continue to see play. I'm not saying I think this is amazing, but again, this is being reprinted, and I'd be curious to see how well that card does going forward. This is self-explanatory. I was kind of making a reference to these two cards, but Genie Wish Fulfilled is still here, still going to be dominant. Probably the best Amethyst card. Evasive, cantrips, quest for 2, like it's just very efficient, and again, need to continue to be aware of this card and potentially be able to answer it. Elsa as well, right? Same thing. Probably one of the better interaction pieces for Amethyst, right? Amethyst not too keen on its removal cards, but Elsa definitely can do that. And again, Genie into Elsa has been a play pattern that we've been aware of for a while. Speaking of Amethyst removal, Elsa Spirit of Winter. Sorry, what's the wrong? Sorry, I messed up when I said the Spirit of Winter. The fifth spirit. Anyways, this Elsa, still good. Again, Blurple is looking to be a powerhouse going forward in the meta, like one of the probably easier decks to build right now. But yeah, Elsa here, not quite like kind of back to its glory days in set 1, but still is a really powerful card that can kind of shift the tide of games if your opponent isn't expecting it. So yeah. Emerald has lost quite a bit of its like powerhouses, like Diablo, Prince John, Ursula. There's all these really, really good Emerald cards that are going away. And so people are kind of wondering, like, what does Emerald do? Clarabelle seems to be the most like raw power level card remaining. And one of the only ways that Emerald really has to draw cards. So yeah, this looks pretty good in that. Again, this is easily kind of slotted into decks. This card doesn't really ask much of you other than playing a shift target and playing this. And your opponent having more cards in hand than you, which shouldn't be too unreasonable. So yeah, definitely if you're building an Emerald deck, this is a good place to start. Excuse me. As yeah, it's just going to be a powerful card. Shark, my favorite card. I'm so happy that it's still here for now. Again, not quite as good maybe as it was previously, but still going to be quite good. I say not good at like maybe being ramped to or kind of being played after like a Be Prepared. Right, you might have to put in more work to kind of enable the Shark to kind of answer your opponent's board or to kind of stick around. But the removal options for this card are a little bit lackluster. There is no more Zeus. All right, we still have things like World's Greatest Criminal Mind. You have Hades and things like that. But it is much easier for Shark to be played and to stick around in the new meta, at least from how things currently stand. So yeah, Shark. I keep laughing at, and oh, by the way, we still have Pirate's Life. So Pirate's Life, one of the best cards to play with Maui Shark, still around. Still plenty of good actions for Maui Shark to recur. Laughing so hard. I remember like when rotation was kind of getting closer and closer. I always just remember this post on social media of a dude like posting about this card and saying, I can't wait for this card to be bad after rotation. And I was telling this dude, I was like, listen, man, I think you're wrong. I'm pretty sure like this card's still going to be decent after rotation. And this was before like knowing anything like Develop Your Brain is still here, knowing Pirate's Life was being reprinted. before any of that, I was still saying I think this card is still going to be fine. Um, and now that person just looks silly. I'm not trying to dunk on. I don't remember who they were. Like they were not a known person, but yeah, so funny. So yeah, definitely, as you can see, it's still decks being played. It's in the red green deck, as well as there's some red blue decks that I might be fiddling around with. So yeah, hopefully those decks are still competitive when the time rolls around. Speaking of a red blue, Sail and Tipo are still here. These were printed in sets 5 and 6. We also have one jump ahead still, but yeah, those don't matter as long as we have Tipo and Sail. Ramp strategies are going to continue to be playable. They have their work cut out for them, as again, aggro decks are going to be a problem as well. So it's just a question of what 4-cost characters and what kind of things are we building up towards to really make these cards work. But yeah, both Sail and Tipo are fantastic. Tipo into Pleakley is another line that like a lot of people are considering. But yeah, both these cards going to continue to enable those ramp strategies. So don't think that those strategies are just going to magically go away if you had problems with those. Speaking of what we're ramping up towards, Hades Infernal Schemer is also back. It has an enchanted as well. It's super cool. Yeah, and another great card to I think this is a very good fair card to keep in the meta. Uninkable, unlike Maleficent Dragon. Uninkable, but is a little bit more playable earlier in the game. But also has that downside of putting a character into the inkwell. So giving your opponent some more resources. But yeah, fantastic Sapphire card. Again, just be aware that this card exists. Not saying like, oh, this is a problematic. Just very good card. I expected to see some play. Like Blurple plays it. Red Blue will probably continue to play it. There will definitely be decks that play this card. And then Steel, everyone's favorite color, still has Strength of a Raging Fire, does not have Let the Storm Rage on. So still has some good removal options, but definitely going to be focusing on challenging with things like Calhoun and Robin Hood. Right, Calhoun, a card that, like, kind of on its face value looks ridiculous, but is, I think, a fair card. And again, hopefully this will exist to keep some of those aggro decks in check. So that'll be nice. Doc providing some card advantage for those aggressive decks or just decks that don't have access to really, really good card draw. Doc will be able to kind of enable that as well as Desperate Plan, but I think Doc will be the main focus there. Already mentioned Strength. Robin Hood we'll see, as again, it's not great into Shark. But its main enemy in Medusa is kind of going away. But also Robin Hood is kind of being overshadowed by Rhino. Maybe in non-amber decks, Robin Hood can kind of see some play again. But yeah, I like, where is it? Yeah, there we go. It's interesting that Dreambone is showing the most recent printings lower. I feel like it would be better to show them up higher, so that people look at this card and know, all right, it is in set 9. It's legal. But yeah, for anyone with the enchanteds, like, probably really excited. Yeah, this card can be kind of crazy in certain metas. Again, when it first came out, it was like the biggest problem, but then kind of just got overshadowed. Again, Medusa attribute to that, as well as just people figuring out, hey, like, Maui, hero to all, just kind of wrecks you. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it, but I do think, like, this is another consideration. If you're building steel decks, this might be another good place to start. Although I don't think we have the 1 cost. I think we only have the 2 cost Robin Hood as a potential shift target, so maybe that is problematic. I don't know. Maybe Robin Hood is too far gone at this point. But yeah, just some things to think about. I'm super excited for rotation. Yeah, I'm still, like, I'm going to be definitely building like Ruby Sapphire or Ruby Emerald. Ruby Ruby and Emerald kind of getting shafted. Like I guess like they're getting shafted in that they're losing a lot, but they're also, I guess, gaining a lot in the new Goofy movie card. So we'll see kind of where that deck shapes out to be. Like Blurple remains not largely untouched, but just like mostly untouched. Like their game plan is essentially exactly the same. Like Rhino, right? So I don't know exactly where the meta is going to end up. Again, Blurple and then like Genie decks seem to be in one place, Rhino decks in another, and then we don't really know where the Sapphire or Control decks are going to roll in. But yeah, very excited to see where everything shapes out. So let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the new cards? What do you think about kind of some of these cards that maybe we'll be worried about or less worried about going forward, and kind of what decks are you thinking about for rotation? But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. That is all about Fabled and rotation coming very soon. Yeah, looking forward to it, and we'll see how it goes. So thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed, again, remember, like, comment, subscribe. Make sure that I know that you enjoy the content so I can make sure to make more of it, and I will see you guys in the next video.